Hello, welcome and good evening to the third class, or rather the fourth class of agriculture. I hope you can see and hear me. If you can see and hear me, please write yes in the comments and we'll get started. All right. So, hello, good evening. I am good. I hope you are all good too. So, in agriculture so far, we have studied almost all of the inputs other than the idea of uh, credit, insurance, and investment. We'll continue from there. I did not record the class because this was important to teach you live, and I want you to write an answer on this also. There will be one recorded class, but it will be on things like second green revolution, climate smart agriculture, etc. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. I hope you're all good too. So we'll continue from there. अब देखो, last time we had studied till the point of, just 1 second, sorry. Just give me 1 second. Till last time we had studied till the point of credit. So we were reading agricultural credit. In agricultural credit, we had read what are the constraints in agricultural credit. Now, there was something that I was explaining to you last time. This was with regards to Aditya will deal with this after the class is over. Right? अगर आपको याद हो, हमने constraints of agriculture credit तक पढ़ लिया था. And last time I was explaining something to you that in the case of agriculture, now this is something I want you to note down because इससे आपको बहुत सारी चीजें clear होंगी. This is not just with relation to agricultural credit. It is not just in relation to cooperatives, farmer producer organizations. It is also in relation to the idea of the APMC Act and why APMCs were made. So let us learn something about the agriculture sector first. ठीक है, हम क्या पढ़ रहे थे last time? We were reading that अगर हम agriculture देखें, तो here is the farmer. The farmer has to sell his produce. When the farmer has to sell his produce, let's say he has to sell tomatoes. The problem here is that it will go bad in 2 weeks. 2 हफ्ते में these tomatoes will go bad if they have to be sold in the market. Farmers are also mostly, or rather 89% in India, they are small and marginal farmers. They also do not have the awareness that is there on the opposite side of the spectrum, where there are just hold on, I don't know what is happening. Just give me 1 second. Sorry about this. Yeah. So we were reading that on one side there is the farmer. The farmer is at some level exploited and they are in a buyer's market. So if they are in a buyer's market, all the power is on the other side, which is with regards to the big conglomerates that are here. For example, if there is a supermarket here, or there is a big wholesaler, wholesaler can wait when he has to buy the produce. He can say that, okay, I will not buy right now. And there are too many farmers. So there is, here the number is very high. So the supply is also very huge in India. So effectively, the buyer decides what is going to happen. So it is, they are in a buyer's market. So here in this setup, it was realized that farmers need to be protected. So farmers need certain protection. Similarly, if you look at the idea of agricultural credit, when credit has to be given to the farmer, there are certain problems. We have seen those problems. So even in the idea of agricultural credit, the person who is giving the loan, let's say the loan is going to come like this, the person who is giving the loan, they have all the control. So what was decided when we have seen the constraints, the notion of NPAs, etc., what was decided here was that here jointness is needed. Farmers need to come together. If farmers have collective bargaining power, this is an important keyword. If farmers have collective bargaining power, then the problem of agricultural credit dispensation will be solved, right? And since the sector is such where farmers are exploited, they are in a buyer's market, they need certain regulations. So last time हमने देखा था why agricultural credit is not coming to India. We have to now understand what can be done to ensure that farmers get adequate credit. So firstly, you have to ensure jointness. Now, how can this jointness come? It can come through three things. One is the formation of cooperatives. This we will learn. Second is the formation of joint liability groups. This is an important term and it has been discussed in this year's economic survey. What does joint liability group mean? It means that, let's say there are 10 farmers. They have come together and now they are asking for a loan. And they are saying that it is our collective responsibility. If it is their collective responsibility, it becomes much easier for the bank to give the loan and for them to give it back. Let's say one farmer does not have a good produce this year, but collectively they will have enough to give back the loan. So they can make cooperative societies, they can make joint liability groups, or they can make farmer producer organizations. Then the other thing that we have to understand here is that regulation is needed. But there is obviously some regulation in this sector. That regulation was with priority sector lending norms. But we saw how these norms were being violated. So in the way forward on agricultural credit, we will also write how PSLs needs to be enforced in a targeted manner. You remember we saw how it was actually going towards the large farmers. The share of the cooperative banks were declining. The share of the commercial banks was rising. Right? We have seen these things. Now, the PSL ideally, there is a specific 8% subdivision for small and marginal farmers. So this needs to be honored. These are the two things we can do. Jointness in the farmers in this manner. Regulations need to be enforced. Then, whenever you are getting a loan, right? When we are getting a loan here, what are you going to give as collateral? किसी भी लोन में, स्पेशली फार्म लोन में, कोलैटरल क्या है? कोलैटरल इज गोइंग टू बी लैंड. So even the idea of efficient land reforms, the idea of model land leasing act, that if tenancy has to happen, if land leasing has to happen, it needs to happen as per some norms. This also needs to be ensured. Even the land leasing act will help in this process. Okay, then we have already read with related to land some constraints. What were those constraints? That the land records are not digitized. There is no conclusive land titling. So if these things are done, this can act as a way forward for agricultural credit. Now this is the idea of agricultural credit and we've read it before. Now you tell me which is the most important scheme of the government with regards to agricultural credit. So credit may, as far as credit is concerned, we have read its importance. We have read what are the constraints. We have understood the way forward. Now we have to just see what the schemes the government has already had in this regard. So you tell me which is the most important scheme of the government with regards to agricultural credit. Good. यार ये last time पढ़ चुके हैं हम. We have already read this last time. I am just repeating. इसीलिए आई एम गोइंग अ लिटिल क्विकली. अगर आपको याद हो, वी हैव रेड अबाउट दिस. We've read about agricultural credit, the trends in agricultural credit, short term, long term, क्या फर्क होता है. Then how the share of cooperative banks is declining. ये सब चीजें हम लास्ट टाइम देख चुके हैं. Constraints क्या हैं, हमें बस ये वे फॉरवर्ड देखना था. So the way forward is mobilize farmers, have target group stipulations, make joint liability groups, make land leasing markets, and digitization of land records. Now, as you have rightly pointed out, the most important scheme of the government is the Kisan Credit Card Scheme. Okay, so जब आप ये आंसर लिख रहे हो एग्रीकल्चरल क्रेडिट का, do mention Kisan Credit Card, mention priority sector lending. Now, there are two other things. Agricultural Infrastructure Fund तो हम बाद में भी देखेंगे. There is the Modified Interest Subvention Scheme. What is being said in this scheme is that if you are getting short term crop loans, ये भी हमने देखा था, there are two types of credit, long term and short term. अगर आप short term credit ले रहे हो, right, that means you are not taking it in a state of investment. आप investment करने के लिए नहीं ले रहे हो, you are taking it so that your farm at least in that year can sustain. So here the government says that if you are, let's say, having X% interest, we will pay some of this. So Y% we will pay, Z% you will pay. And if you are paying Z% and you are paying on time, then we will further reduce this to Z-2. Okay. So government says आपने loan लिया है, you have taken loan at X% interest. Let's say you have taken loan at 9% interest. We will pay 6% interest, you pay 3% interest. And if this 3% you are paying back properly, then we will pay 8%, you only have to pay 1% after 1 year. So this is Modified Interest Subvention Scheme, again a scheme for proper agricultural credit. Okay. Now, e-negotiable warehouse receipts we will see when we come to the idea of agricultural marketing. Now, ये topic तो हमें last time, this is where we left it last time. Now let us read in detail the remaining topics and we will start from investment. Okay. So let's talk of agricultural investment. Up. Agriculture investment can be done effectively by three people. So one is private investment. Private investment can come from the farmer themselves or the person who are tilling the land. It can also come, agricultural investment can also come from where? It can come from certain private corporations. The other place agricultural investment can come from is from the public sector, basically from the government. Okay, these are the three places where agricultural investment will come from. If I have to study agricultural investment, what are the things I should keep in mind? Firstly, I need to know some data. Where is the investment coming from and at what percentage? What is the role of agricultural investment? Why is agricultural investment important? Then there is, in this year's economic survey, a debate between subsidies and investments. So एक तरफ subsidies, एक तरफ investments. This debate is there that should we invest more in subsidies, should we invest more in investments, and what is the differential between the two? Then whatever current investment structures we have, obviously investment has a role, and obviously our investment right now is not adequate. So what do we need to do to ensure that this investment becomes adequate? So effectively a way forward for agricultural investment. तो हम इसी ऑर्डर में पढ़ेंगे. We will first see the data. Then we will see what is the importance. ये आप बताओगे मुझे, role of agricultural investment. Then we will see subsidy versus investment debate, and then we will see how we can reform the agricultural investment sector. Okay. Now, currently, the government is giving about, this is not exact data, but you can remember it like this, less than 20% of the total investment in the agriculture sector is coming from the government. Private sector is giving about 75% from the farmer themselves, and corporates are giving less than 5%. So यहाँ पर main problem क्या है? That private corporations are not investing in our agriculture. Government has limited capacity to invest. And farmers, the people who are tilling the field themselves, the private tillers, they are investing the most. But is this a good thing? Ideally, what should be the ratio? The ratio should be, this should be number 1. Ideally, this should be number 1. This should be number 2. And this should be number 3. Because if 89% farmers are small and marginal, their capacity to invest is not that high. So if 89% in a country where 89% farmers are small and marginal, their investment is the maximum. So total share of agricultural investment is going to be low. Up. Whenever you are writing an answer on investment, you will not use this word. Ultimately, our economy questions and agriculture questions are going to be checked by an economics professor or someone who is good at economics. So in that case, what are we going to do? We are going to use economic terms. So we will use gross capital formation. Investment का question आएगा भी, और if we are writing any question related to investment, we are going to use the term gross capital formation in agriculture, not the term investment. बात एक ही है. It is the same thing, but we are going to use this term. Okay. Now let us look at some investment data. So the gross capital formation of the agriculture sector, it has been rising over time, right? And I hope आपको gross capital formation का मतलब पता हो, right? So gross capital formation means investment in fixed assets, machinery, buildings, land improvement, equipment improvement, and inventory changes. So it is rising, right? But still the amount of investments that we have are not sufficient. Now, Ashok Dalwai panel जो बना था for doubling farmers' income, that had the target of doubling farmers' income from 2016 to 2022. So they said that for meeting this target, the investment in agriculture needs to grow by 12.5% every year. If investment in agriculture grows by 12.5% every year, farmer incomes will grow by 10.4% every year. But we are not meeting this target. Okay. Now, this is what we have in terms of data. What we now have to see is, why is agriculture investment important? This you will tell me. You have 2 minutes to tell me what is the role of investments in agriculture. Why are agricultural investments important? आएंगे ना उस पे, why are corporates not investing? We'll come to it. अभी आप रोल तो बताओ, why is it important? Then we'll come to why investment is not happening. Create employment, containing inflation, inclusive growth, food security. आप लोग लेक्चर सिर्फ देख रहे हो, पढ़ नहीं रहे हो. अगर आपको इसमें सोचना पड़ रहा है, फर्स्ट लेक्चर में क्या पढ़ा था हमने? व्हाट इज द फर्स्ट थिंग वी रेड इन दिस एग्रीकल्चर व्हेन वी स्टार्टेड? सबसे पहले क्या पढ़ा था हमने? थिंकिंग पैटर्न. उसके बाद नेक्स्ट चीज क्या पढ़ी थी? did we not read something called significance of agricultural sector? Did we not read something called significance of agriculture sector? Right? Significance of agriculture sector में जो भी points हैं, right? We read the political significance, the social significance, all of that will be impacted by investments. Whatever investment you put into agriculture, it is going to make agriculture more remunerative, better in every way. So जो significance of agriculture के points थे वही यहाँ पर लगेंगे. Now again, since these papers are going to be checked by an economy professor, I want you to write a keyword here. ये आपके notes में लिखा हुआ है. Elemental growth theory. Elemental growth theory says that the growth of any sector is directly related or directly proportional to the amount of investments that are done there. So if you invest properly, the sector will grow, otherwise it is not going to grow. This is elemental growth theory. Okay, this we are going to write. When we are writing the significance of agriculture sector, we are going to write inclusive growth. Right? ये तो हम देख ही चुके हैं. But जो भी significance of agriculture के points थे, all of them are going to go here. Okay. Now, question था, why is the corporate sector not investing? For the corporate sector to want to invest in any place, if let's say they want to invest in the agriculture sector, or they want to invest in any place, what do they want? Their primary motive is to get profit. If the private corporate is investing 100 rupees and he can get, let's say a corporate house can get a rate of return on their investment of about 10% in the stock market. So if they invest in the stock market, after 1 year, these 100 rupees will become 110 rupees. For them to take the decision to invest in the agricultural sector, this return on investment has to be greater than 10%. So if I invest 100 rupees in agriculture sector, I should get at least 111 rupees for me to actually take the decision of wanting to invest in agriculture. Okay. But that is not true. That is not happening. Why? Because Indian agriculture right now is not remunerative. Now, why is Indian agriculture not generating profit? This we will understand when we have read the entire supply chain. Till now, we have read inputs. Then when we will read marketing, exports, and we'll read that today, you'll understand why price realization is not good. Let's say I go to a farmer and I invest 100 rupees in his farm. Then I would want him to give me back 110 rupees. But if the marketing is such that I am not getting profit, there is no price realization, why would I want to invest in this sector when there are other opportunities? Correct? So, what are the problems with agricultural investments in India? One idea is that we are, obviously the private sector is not investing, especially the private corporate sector is not investing. That is one idea. The other is whoever is investing, let's say the public sector is investing. Whenever the government invests in agriculture, their priorities are misplaced. So it is an issue of misplaced priorities. So in the economic survey this year and also in the Galwai panel report, a study has been quoted which says that if you invest 1 rupee as the government in agricultural extension services, in agriculture research and development, the return that you get is rupees 11. So there is 11 times return if we are investing here. But if you invest in agricultural subsidy, let's say you are investing in fertilizer subsidy, which is one of the greatest subsidies that we are giving right now. The return on rupee 1 of investment is rupees 0.88. So the return of investment in terms of agricultural subsidy is very low relative to the return of investment that will come to if we invest on R&D. But the budget that is going here is about 30 times more than what is going here, because this is a populist measure and it is important for the short term, right? Now, this brings us to a debate between, on the one side, investment, or let's say gross capital formation, or we'll use a simple word. On one side there is investment, on one side there is subsidies. Now you have to think for 1 minute and tell me, what are the relative advantages of investment and relative advantages of subsidies in Indian agriculture? Make a differentiating table. Are subsidies also important? Are investments also important? Etc. Think about it. Good. Long term versus initial push. Good. It makes it a sustainable business. That is also good. All right. देखो, let's think about it. Subsidies पे अगर हमारी government invest कर रही है, there are certain importance of subsidies. So if you, let's say, start giving subsidy on a particular crop, on a particular seed, on a particular fertilizer, what does it do? One, it gives short-term relief. The other advantage of subsidies is that you can incentivize people. You can say that, okay, I want everyone to grow this particular seed. I will give subsidy on it in the short term. Okay. Then what is the third advantage of subsidies? Subsidies can reach all farmers and especially the most needy farmers. So we have 89% small and marginal farmers. So subsidies can reach these needy farmers. But the problem with subsidy is that the return of investment is not good enough. It does not go for long-term growth. It only focuses on short-term relief. So to promote long-term growth, to promote market efficiency, to promote sustainability in agriculture, we need investments. Now the idea is that these two things need to be balanced. The problem here is that investments currently are only 1/3 of what we are investing in subsidies. Rather, if this is 1, this is 1/3. So if we are investing 300 rupees here, we are only investing 100 rupees here. So long term, the growth of Indian agriculture sector comes into question. We will read more about this in the last class when we talk more about agricultural policy in general. But the idea of investment not being enough and not being balanced with subsidies is something which creates a problem for agricultural growth in the future. Now, even innovation, self-reliance, all of this is something that investments promote and subsidies don't. Now, let us now understand that if I have to reform investments in Indian agriculture, or if I have to, let's say, make investments in Indian agriculture, looking at future trends, What are the things that are important to me? ये आपने मुझे बताना है in 1 minute. That what are the areas where I should invest in? So, areas in the sense, tell me with regards to the idea of trends that are emerging. Again, you did not see. If I have to invest in agriculture, do I really have to think about the areas? If I know the agricultural supply chain, अगर मुझे supply chain पता है, so anywhere across the agricultural supply chain I can invest. That is not the problem. The problem is what are the trends I need to keep in mind, right? What are the trends I need to keep in mind? The first trend I need to keep in mind is agriculture is being done to serve the consumers, right? Ultimately, agriculture is being done so that we can eat. The idea is that demand patterns have changed. The demand patterns are now no longer the same. Earlier, there was a demand of food security in India. At the time of Green Revolution, our demand was that we need food security. So, in the idea of food security, what did we need? We needed cereals, wheat, rice to ensure that our tummies are full. But now we need high value crops. We are asking for horticulture. We are asking for fruits, vegetables, processing, and everything in between. Okay, so our demand patterns have changed. Then even the market structure has changed. Earlier, India was looking for food security. So we were looking for ensuring that we are not dependent on the food coming from outside. Correct? But now we are a net food exporter. And if we have to be a net food exporter, in that case, we have to ensure that our investments are done in such a manner that the market intelligence of those countries, what those countries where we export to, what do they want? For example, we need to invest in organic farming. We need to invest in products that do not have gluten content, because now there is a change in lifestyle. Even after COVID, people are now thinking of products that can increase their health. So the earlier agricultural products that we have are not something that we need to continue investing in. Then, when we look at the case of horticulture, it is said that in horticulture there are the maximum wastage losses. So let's say this is a case study that in Bihar, lychee is being made. The consumer is paying 100 rupees for 1 kg of lychee. The farmer is getting 3 rupees. Why? Because a lot of lychee is lost. Taking it from the farm to the plate, a lot of lychee gets lost in the middle. And this becomes a problem. So these are also things we have to keep in mind when we have to study investment. Now, when we read about agricultural policy in detail, we will read this thing in more detail, but I hope the idea is clear in your head. Subsidies is a topic we have to read in detail, and there we'll read about agricultural policy and where exactly we can invest. Okay. Now, the last input we have to read is insurance. So if I talk of agricultural insurance, there are 3-4 things I need to read here. Firstly, what is the importance of agricultural insurance? Then why is the penetration of agricultural insurance low in India? Then what is the major scheme of the government for agricultural insurance? If there are any changes that have been proposed in it? And of course, I need some data and I need a way forward. Now, this is very likely this year because this major scheme and changes has been discussed in detail in this year's economic survey. So, you tell me first, why is agricultural insurance important? Why is it important? Good, it is Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. We'll see the changes that have been made. Good. It gives them security. It gives them livelihood security. It gives them financial stability. It gives them a safety net against disasters. So if there is crop loss and farmers are insured, they have financial stability, they have livelihood security, they have disaster security, and they will be able to invest their surplus easily back into the field without this fear. So even the fact that we are giving insurance will lead to better investment. This is there. Now, if insurance is important, the government also recognizes that insurance is important. So the government comes out with a scheme called Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. I'm sure you would have read about this in the prelims. I'll just give you a small recap about its features. Okay. It says that we will give comprehensive crop coverage. Comprehensive crop coverage. We will give protection against pre-harvest loss, harvest loss, and post-harvest loss. Center and states will share the burden. Center will pay about 25 to 30% depending on whether it is an irrigated field or non-irrigated field. The state will pay the rest of the amount. The farmer has to pay a minimal amount. So the farmer for the Rabi crop, for the Kharif crop, and for horticultural crops will have to pay very minimal amount. So 1%, 2%, 5%. Little bit up and down, you get the idea. Then they say that we will give comprehensive insurance, we'll collect from the farmer, we'll collect the premiums from the farmer and we will give it back to them. Now, this scheme is the largest insurance scheme in the world as far as area is concerned, or rather largest in terms of farmers enrolled. How many farmers are there in this scheme? It is the largest in those terms. And as far as area covered is there, it is the third largest scheme in the world. Now we have a scheme and it's there to cover almost all the issues of crop insurance. Okay. Now, Earlier, there was a provision that if a farmer wants to get a loan, this is compulsory. But now this compulsory provision has been removed. It is said that it is voluntary. It is not compulsory to get this insurance scheme to get a loan in the Indian agricultural sector. Okay, so loans even without Fasal Bima Yojana are now being approved. Now, if we have such a scheme, the farmer has to pay very less amount. It covers comprehensively, it covers all crops, and it covers all parts of the cropping supply chain. So pre-harvest, harvest, and post-harvest losses, everything is covered. Then, now you have to tell me this. Why are there any constraints in agricultural insurance in India? What are the problems of agricultural insurance in India? This you have to tell me. इसी स्कीम को देख के, ये फीचर्स शायद आप पढ़ चुके होंगे प्रीलिम्स में. इसी स्कीम को देख के थिंक अबाउट व्हाई आर देयर कंस्ट्रेंट्स. Correct. If you see the center state issues, firstly, there are going to be some federal issues in the scheme. And if states have to make rest of the payments, there are going to be differences across states. Now you are asking farmers to pay premiums. So what do they need? They need banking facilities. But what about areas where there are not enough banking facilities? The farmers will not be able to pay. Then, even if there are banking facilities, the premium payment procedure is so cumbersome. So it is difficult to make the payment. So it is a cumbersome procedure. So farmers don't go for it. And even if they are able to do this, the payment that they get back, so this coverage that they get back, the insurance amount they are supposed to get, there are delays here. And all of this is assuming that the farmer is aware of this. The main problem in any scheme is the idea of people not knowing about it. So here, when you are asked, let's say, what are the challenges of insurance or agricultural insurance in India, don't write challenges of Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Write like a future bureaucrat. Right? Reason for low saturation of Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Saturation of a scheme is how many people have accepted that scheme. So these are the challenges. Now, what has the government done, at least in terms of tech, in Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, to solve some of these problems? Firstly, what they have done is that the National Comprehensive Insurance Program, which is paying for Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, has been linked to the Public Financial Management System. PFMS is the system through which all government employees get their salaries. So if you link these two things together and all payments that are happening here are reflected in PFMS, it gives the government greater visibility and traceability. They can trace how much payments have gone. Then, if you have to give insurance, right? Let's say I have to give insurance on this particular field. Now, insurance will only be given if this particular field fails. So let's say this field can ideally generate 100 kg of wheat. This year, this field generates only 10 kg of wheat. So on 90 kg of wheat, I have to give insurance for crop loss. But how do I arrive at this figure? That 100 kg of wheat is something that this plot will generate or this field will generate. For this, now the government has introduced Yes Tech. Yes Tech is yield estimation system based on technology. So it's a technological automated system to see what yield a particular field will generate. Only then my insurance amount and my premium amount will be scientifically calculated. Then, what is one of the major reasons for crop loss? It is untimely rains, untimely winds. So this is a new wind system under which they have said that in every gram panchayat, we will have an automatic rain gauge, an automatic wind estimation system. So a weather estimation system, wind estimation system, and an automatic rain gauge at every gram panchayat to ensure that the crop loss that is happening needs to be less. And lastly, in any scheme in the world, whatever scheme ever you are writing, there is always a challenge of inclusion and exclusion errors. So some people who should not be included will get included. Some people who should have been included will not get the scheme. Some people who should not have been included will get the scheme. These are inclusion and exclusion errors. Moreover, if you have to insure something, if you are saying that I have insured this, and somebody comes to you and says that this crop has failed, you need something to verify that. For this, the fourth technological intervention has been made, which is Cropic. So this is a picture-based system. One, to scientifically estimate yields, so it will help here also. To verify insurance claims and to avoid inclusion and exclusion errors. All right. So these four new tech interventions have come in Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Now these four interventions is also something you should write when you get a question on e-technology in the aid of farmers. You should also write them as way forward for the problem of Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Okay. Now, let me just show you your notes once so you know what you have done. So we've read investment, elemental growth theory. This is what I'm asking you to write. अब यहाँ पर role of agricultural investment लिखा है. But if you've attended the class and you know, and you get a question on this, you have to think about significance of agriculture sector. Then this is about what we need to do, high value segments, food security versus high value crops in agriculture. Then subsidy versus investment debate is something that has appeared in this year's economic survey that I've added. Schemes we will do in detail, so anyway we can leave this right here. Then we have talked about insurance. So they have said that amount of insurance has increased, but there are still challenges. This is the importance that insurance gives, the features of the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, the challenges and issues of this Yojana, which we have seen right now. Then the four new technological interventions that have come. Now at this point in agriculture, we have read in detail the various inputs that we have to study in terms of agriculture supply chain. Now we have to go towards agricultural production, marketing, post-production, and ultimately we have to see agricultural policy. अब हमने ये सारे inputs पढ़ लिए. We started with land, we led land reforms, then water, then fertilizer, then we read about pesticide, we read about investment, we read about technology, we then read e-technology in the aid of farmers. We have also read about insurance, investment, a little bit about subsidies. So various inputs that could have been put in the agriculture sector, we have read them. Now, अब आप लोग एक काम करोगे कि I will give you 8 minutes to write a 10 marker question. I will write the question on the board. I would heavily appreciate if you don't write in the chat. You write in your notebook. I just want to know whether you are able to write or not. Okay. So the question is, and if you are giving mains this year, you should try attempting this, but you can skip this also if you are reading this in a hurry. If you are and you are watching this recorded, if you are not giving mains in 2024, you should 100% read, do this in a lot of detail. Okay. Now, the question here is, how can input constraints in Indian agriculture be reformed to make agriculture more remunerative? More remunerative means that more profitable. 10 marks, 150 words. You have 8 minutes. Write in the notebook, not in the chat. I just want to see if you are able to write. Now, when I started writing on the board, it was 3 minutes were left, and I have written 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points, and I can explain this further also. If you have been able to write 8 points, you are on the right track. Okay, but they should be multi-dimensional points. They should not be limited to कि आप seeds ही explain करते रह गए, या water ही explain करते रह गए, या pesticides ही explain करते रह गए. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. अगर आपने सारे points various inputs के through लिखे हैं, this should be good. So now tell me, were you able to write yes or no? And if no, what were the challenges that you faced? Good. तो मतलब आप लोग decently पढ़ रहे हैं, right? Now today, this is your homework. Whatever we have read in input so far, keep this answer in front of you and look at it again. Look at the topic of land and see, were the points that you wrote, were they the best point? In water, the points that you wrote, were they the best points? तो आपको पता रहेगा कि आपको याद रह रहा है या नहीं. That is why we are reading in a particular manner. अब एक चीज और देखो. Let's say this question was, let me just rub the question now and change the question completely. Okay. What steps can India take to double farmers' income? Okay. If this question was there, even then all of these points are relevant. Just they have to be written differently. So since we are studying agriculture in a particular supply chain, broad questions on agriculture you will be able to answer. You will always have this in your mind, right? And in case you are getting a specific question on, let's say, land reforms or water management, we have already done that also. Okay. Now, so far we have read about input in agriculture and we have seen it in a lot of detail. So this much is now done. Now we will come to production. So in production, there are few things that we have to understand. Okay. What are those things? Firstly, how do we produce? Here we have to read in detail about cooperatives. Right? How cooperatives can help in the production. Then after production, or let's say in the process of production, ultimately you are producing why? You are producing to take it to the market. So I will write production and marketing. Right? So firstly, how do we produce? The idea is cooperatives. Then in production, we have to read what is the pattern of production in India? Broad question. So here we will have to read about cropping patterns. We will also have to read about crop diversification. How do I diversify the current pattern to go towards various areas? Then I have to realize that agriculture is not only crops, it can also have an allied sector. So in my production, I also have to read about dairy, about the economics of animal rearing, about horticulture. Then I have done the production, but there is a supply chain here. This entire supply chain from input to production to marketing to further needs to be managed. So there is supply chain management. Now, once I have produced, let's say I have done production in whatever way, I effectively have three options. One is I can sell in the domestic market. Here we have to read about the issues of APMC and minimum support price. The other option I have is to do export, right? So we will read about agricultural exports also. Then the next option we have is to go for food processing. So these are the things we have to read now. Okay. In the end, we will read about, once this is done, we will then read about something called agricultural policy. So when we come to the policy of agriculture, we will have to read our subsidy regime. Connected to MSP is the idea of public distribution system. This is something we have to read here. Then we have to read about general policy issues and reforms needed in agriculture policy. Reforms needed why? So that we can double farmers' income, so that there is no more agrarian distress. We have to read about, maybe not here, in policy we have to read about whether we should tax agricultural income or not. We have to read about whether loan waivers should be a part of agricultural policy. We have to read about how can we stop farmer suicides. Now, when we are looking at these policy questions, if you look at agrarian distress, if I ask you what are the reasons for agrarian distress in India, and I ask you that question, again, at least from the input side, we are sorted. So when we come to this part, I will expect that if you have read everything with me, you've read production, post-production, you've read marketing with me, you've read storage, transport, logistics. When we finally come to this policy part, it will be the same points, just reorganized better. Okay. Now, अब हम चलते हैं आगे and let us now read about cooperatives. So agricultural cooperatives or cooperative sector in general. Now cooperatives is something that I'm assuming you have read from Lakshmikant also, right? Lakshmikant ने भी हमें cooperatives पढ़ने होते हैं. तो cooperatives के बारे में what are the things that you already know? Right? You must know some things about cooperatives, like their principles, the idea that they are democratically controlled. Regardless of how much contribution you are giving, you will have one vote. There is a principle of equality. Membership is voluntary. They are democratically managed, etc. I am assuming that these things you already know about cooperatives, right? But we have to read cooperatives from the point of view of agriculture. Okay. Now, when we are reading cooperatives, we'll first read some general points and data that I'm sure you already know. Data I'll teach you. Then we'll read about the evolution of cooperatives in India. How have they evolved? Then what were the challenges in cooperative formation? What are the types of cooperatives that we do? Types of cooperatives that we have in India. Then specifically we will read about primary agricultural credit societies, which are a type of cooperatives that are there in India. Then what have been the successes of the cooperative movement? and how can these successes be emulated to solve these challenges, right? Once we have read this, this will be a holistic understanding of cooperatives. So general things we will read first about cooperatives. Our motto in cooperatives is Sahkar se Samriddhi. This keyword must appear in your answer if you are talking of cooperatives. We have the world's largest cooperative network, and highest number of cooperatives are registered in the housing sector. Then there are dairy cooperatives. Why dairy cooperatives? Because of the huge success that Amul has had. Now, what is a cooperative? I'm assuming you know. It is an autonomous association. Basically, it is an association of, it can be anything, association of people which is autonomous, which has democratic management. It has the idea of one person, one vote. And why are they making this cooperative? People are coming together. They are coming together voluntarily for better services or better price realization or better bargaining power. One of these reasons. Okay. This is what cooperatives basically are. Now, if you look at the types of cooperatives in India, the first type is retail cooperative. And this is not that important. I'm just telling you for your basic understanding. Retail cooperative का क्या मतलब हुआ? That retailers of a particular item, let's say retailers of this pen, people who are selling this pen have come together and formed a group, and now they are working together so that they have better price realization, better bargaining power. Then there are housing cooperatives. Housing cooperatives are that 100 people came together. They said we all want good houses. So they bought a plot of land together. They pooled their resources. They bought a plot of land and built housing for themselves. Then there are worker cooperatives. Workers in a particular area of, let's say, a particular institution have come together for better bargaining power. Then there are farm cooperatives. That farmers who are small and marginal, this is important for us. Farmers who are small and marginal. 89% of farmers in India. Okay. They have come together, they have pooled their land, they have pooled their resources, and now they are marketing their products together. And then there are service cooperatives. Cooperatives that offer a particular service. For example, cooperative banks, that they have come together and now they offer services to the public in general. Okay. Now, when we look at the types of cooperatives and the general idea of cooperatives, we should see the principles of the cooperative movement. The principles of the cooperative movement are voluntary and open membership without discrimination, democratic member control, economic participation equitably, concern for the community, cooperation, education and training, autonomy and independence. Now these are basic things, right? Yeah, I don't think this will be asked to you. But if a question does come on cooperatives, you will need some data. So in the economic survey this year, the government has said that there are 8 lakh single state and 1614 multi-state cooperatives in India. Now, this is the number of cooperatives that have been registered under the Single State and the Multi-State Act. And if you look at it, in both places, the leader is by a very large margin, Maharashtra. Okay. Now, how has cooperatives or how has the cooperative movement evolved in India? So cooperatives were something cooperatives was something that actually China was doing, and China was doing especially in the agriculture sector and also in the allied sector of agriculture to ensure that they get better price realization, better agricultural growth. So it was touted at that time that China has about 8% agricultural growth, India only has about 3%. So it was thought by the Honorable Indian Prime Minister at that time that the main reason for this is the idea of cooperativization. That farmers are coming together. Let's say these are four farmers. They have different sizes of land, but they have come together, pooled their resources, and now they are selling together. They will distribute their profits also in this share, but they get better bargaining power. So, because of this, at the time of independence, our first Prime Minister, Nehru ji, he came up with the idea of corporatization. So it was proposed, and a lot of proposals came even within the Congress party, the socialists, the communists, even Gandhiji was in favor of cooperatives in the Indian state. At that time, we were also doing land reforms. So if you remember, जब हम land reforms पढ़ रहे थे, that we also read the idea that exemptions were given. One of these exemptions was given to cooperatives. Okay. So we started the idea of making cooperatives. Now the problem here was that China, being a communist country, could enforce this on people. They could say that you have to make a cooperative. In India, this was obviously going to be a very democratic process. So there were also oppositions from within the Congress party. If you've read about the Swatantra party, they were opposed to the idea of India getting into the idea of cooperatives. The people here were Rajaji and the idea, the Sri Rajagopalachari, N.G. Ranga. These people were here and they were against the idea of cooperatives being formed in India. अब जैसे as things move forward, a Nagpur resolution is passed, and this is just basic history to explain what has happened. Nagpur resolution was passed in 1959. And at this time, it is said that India will go towards the idea of cooperatives. इससे पहले there is a Kumarappa committee. If you get a question on cooperatives, you can use this historical background. Nagpur resolution is there, Kumarappa committee is there. Then the second 5-year plan is also talking about the formation of agricultural cooperatives. So this is happening at the same time when land reforms are something that we are discussing. But what happens here is something changes in the late 1960s. So in 1962, we fight a war with China. So the idea of borrowing from Chinese models is scrapped. The other problem is that this data of 8% is largely believed to be fake, and it is believed that their actual agricultural growth before the Great Leap Forward was only 0.5% or 1%. They were projecting that they have huge agricultural growth because they were exporting regardless of whether their own people are dying or not. But the cooperative movement in China had largely not been very successful. And we had fought a war with them also. So at this time, then we abandoned the idea of cooperatives. However, then later it is realized that jointness is very important, especially in the farm sector. Why is it important? We've already seen the idea of bargaining power. So this idea is then revived. This idea is revived how? This idea is revived with the 97th Constitutional Amendment Act, which makes cooperatives a part of Article 19, a part of Article 43B, and introduces a new part of the Constitution specifically to deal with cooperatives. There is also then the Multi-State Cooperative Societies Act. So these ideas are basically said that this ultimately then revives the cooperative movement in India. Okay. Then once we have read about this idea that how cooperatives has come, this is just to give you a background. Cooperatives were actually an idea that were meant to collectivize the farmers, to ensure that they could, or rather than farmers, any sector of the population that could actually get better bargaining power and services through their collective efforts. A problem ये थी कि China का experiment had failed, so we did not let the movement sustain for a very long time, and recently we revived it. And now this is the historical background as far as cooperatives are concerned. Now what we actually have to study, and the things that might be asked to us are, one, the challenges of the cooperative movement in India. Now when you are writing the challenges, don't write the historical challenges, write them today. You know what cooperatives are. People are coming together and they are running, let's say, a farm cooperative or a cooperative bank, or they are running a cooperative housing society, something like this. So अब आप मुझे बताओ challenges of running cooperatives in India at the moment. Okay, and the challenges, whenever you are writing challenges for anything like this, when it is for a large organizational challenge, there can be some challenges in formation, some challenges in operation, some challenges in regulation. तो अब आप मुझे बताओ, what are the challenges of the cooperative movement in India? You have 2 minutes, और इससे पता भी चल जाएगा कि लक्ष्मीकांत के जिन चैप्टर्स को हमें पढ़ना होता है हम वो पढ़ते हैं ढंग से या नहीं. आ गए ना सबके जनरल पॉइंट? गवर्नेंस इश्यूज, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट, भूल गए सब लैंड रिफॉर्म्स वाला चैप्टर. No, tell me from the perspective of agriculture. From the perspective of agriculture, we are reading agriculture here. Good Anang. Anang or Anang. Good Anjali. देखो देखो, I think you are, I think I need to explain to you a little bit more what a cooperative is with an example. Let's say जितने भी students हैं, they say that we need good libraries. So they say that we will come together. Okay, we will come together, the membership, we will form a student cooperative. ठीक है, एक स्टूडेंट कोऑपरेटिव बनाएंगे. Membership fees of student cooperative to get into the cooperative is 10 rupees. जिसने भी 10 rupees दे दिए, he is now member of this cooperative. All members, regardless of their contribution, have one vote. What will the student cooperative do? It will pool resources. They will say that someone can give, let's say 1000 rupees. This is not membership fees. Membership fees तो ये आप दे चुके. Someone will give 1000 rupees, someone will give 1 lakh rupees, someone will give 50 rupees. Okay. We will pool all of these resources and we will make a library of our own. Okay. Now, for all the students, not only the people who are part of this cooperative, for all the students who want to take libraries, we will say that any XYZ person should come and study in this library because we are making the best possible libraries which are going to help the students. Whatever profit this generates will be divided here on the basis of your contribution. But how this library has to function, what regulations you have to put here, right? This will be decided how? Not on the basis of your contribution, but on the basis of your vote. So even if you have paid 10 rupees and someone has paid 1 lakh rupees, you both have one vote. Okay. This is what the idea of cooperatives is. Now, unions, someone was asking, unions generally are different and they are restricted to workplaces. Cooperatives are a broad idea. Okay. Now, अब आप सोचो challenges in formation of cooperatives. In terms of agriculture, we know that in formation, because of the exemption that was given, some private cooperatives were formed, but these were bogus cooperatives. ये जो मैंने आपको हिस्टोरिकल बात बताई थी वो इसलिए बताई थी ताकि आप ये पॉइंट सोच पाओ. Private cooperatives were formed because of exemptions given to land reforms, but these were bogus cooperatives. This is one problem. Second, the government was also focusing on cooperatives, so state-sponsored cooperatives were also there. But in state-sponsored cooperatives, what was the problem? The land that was given to them to function in agriculture was not of good quality, so they couldn't actually function well. Okay. Now, when it came to operations, in operations, one major problem was the leadership of these cooperatives. The leaders did not have the capacity or were politically influenced. Because of this political influence of leadership, this cooperative never functioned well. Okay. Now, since the state was giving benefits, and these leaders were not people who actually wanted the benefit of the larger community, they diverted these benefits for personal gain. Now, why did the state want cooperatives to work? They wanted cooperatives to work so that the productivity would increase. But this productivity increase or the scale increase was never seen. Then, in the operations of cooperatives, the ideas of landless farmers, the ideas of tenants, even when they were members, were not entertained because they were not seen as people who were influential enough by the leaders. Then, once something like this starts, it is bogus and the state is giving benefits, you can see political interference. Okay. Now, once regulation had to happen, in regulations, there was collusion in the bureaucracy and the leaders of the movement. Why? For this diversion. So bureaucracy was unable to regulate it properly. And because it was not regulated and not governed, it led to certain things like NPAs, things like bad debt, and there was no proper audit mechanism. Okay, so these were the challenges that cooperatives faced in India. Right? Now we have to understand, we have said the challenges first, we have to now understand what are the advantages or potential successes of a cooperative to be formed. अगर cooperative बनती है, let's say this cooperative is formed, what are the potential advantages that can come from it? What are the advantages of a cooperative to be formed? Now you again have 1 minute. Think about it. If let's say farmers come together and form a cooperative, what advantages do they get? Govind, the state was encouraging them. Nothing else. Now, to understand the advantages and role of cooperative sector, again I will give you an example of the most successful cooperative movement in the world, of Amul. And when you go to Labasna, the last few days of the foundation course are always in Gujarat, near the Statue of Unity, where the Honorable Prime Minister also comes to address the bureaucrats. And we are taken to factories of Amul, and we are shown how this is professionally managed, how they are successful, what are the things they are doing, etc. So to understand these advantages, let us read about the idea of Amul and how did it work. So at the time of independence, close to 1946, right, there is the large state of Bombay. The state of Bombay. Obviously, this is at this time also British governed because of 1946. And Bombay has something called a Bombay Milk Scheme. What does the Bombay Milk Scheme do? It acquires milk from individual farmers. So individual farmers are there from which the Bombay Milk Scheme acquires milk. They acquire it at ridiculously low prices. But further, when they sell to the state and when they sell to then the consumers, the cost is very high. So at this time, there is a milk strike. In 1946, a milk strike happens. Now, because of this milk strike, all of these farmers say that we will come together and form a cooperative group, and you have to buy from us as a collective union. So the people who were here were Sardar Patel, Morarji Desai, then Dr. Verghese Kurian. I'm sure you've read the history of it. They say that we will come together and we will form a cooperative, and we request you to buy milk from this cooperative. Otherwise, alone by ourselves, we will not sell to the Bombay Milk Scheme. This cooperative is the starting of the formation of Amul. What does Amul do well? Firstly, it is democratically managed and there is open membership. So they say that anyone who has 2 cows, and this is true till today, anyone who has 2 cows can come and join the membership of Amul. They start their operations, and initially they are only producing 150 liters of milk. But they say that we will sell as a group only. So all the resources will be pooled, then sold to Bombay Milk Scheme at a reasonable rate. And then whatever return we get, we will distribute amongst ourselves. The brilliance of Amul is actually the brilliance of Dr. Verghese Kurian, who then takes leadership of this and starts professionally managing this particular cooperative. So they start researching they start thinking about, he was the general manager. They start thinking about how we can diversify, how we can increase production, how we can add science and technology to this. So from milk, they start making milk products. They start having scientific cattle management. Once all of this happens, the return that these farmers were getting earlier, these milk farmers, the return they were getting earlier gets increased. Then this is the first advantage of formation of cooperatives. What is the first advantage? Inclusive growth, poverty alleviation. Then earlier, these farmers were competing with themselves, competing amongst themselves to get the milk to the Bombay milk scheme, that मेरा produce बिकना चाहिए या तुम्हारा बिकेगा, etc. But now this competition is gone. They have better social harmony. Then Amul does not stop at milk production, scientific cattle management, and diversification. They also say that to our members, we will give various services. Services like education, services like training, services like if someone's girl child wants to go to college, the cooperative will help them from the profit. Okay. Despite this brilliant person being the head of the movement, he continues to manage it completely democratically. They continue to manage it democratically. It is complete democratic management. One vote, one person, regardless of how many cows you have. You have 100 cows, you have 10,000 cows, you have one cow, or you have 2 cows, you will have one person, one vote. Milk production in India increases significantly. Production increases, technology is introduced, management becomes better, diversification happens, Amul then starts to export, there is inclusive growth, poverty alleviation, and social harmony amongst people who are there. Then Amul also evolves a professional structure. So they say at the bottom level, at the district level, or rather at the village level, we will have dairy cooperatives, then we will have milk unions, so dairy cooperatives, then milk unions, and then a federation of unions. So it is managed in a very representative way. Seeing how Dr. Verghese Kurian has transformed milk production in India, the cooperative movement also helps other parts of the country, because then Dr. Verghese Kurian is taken to make the National Dairy Development Board. And then all of these scientific management practices are then spread throughout India, and India then becomes one of the largest producers of milk in the world. This is what is called Operation Flood. This Operation Flood actually comes after the formation of NDDB. But before this, it is the story of Amul. Now from this story, yes, Operation Flood, White Revolution. So from this story, can you now understand the role that cooperatives play and the advantages that particular cooperatives have? वो हमने देख ही लिया, right? So I don't think we need to go into that detail, but I'm sure this is understandable that they have various advantages. Now, they have various challenges also. Now, what initiatives have we taken? What initiatives have we taken to allow for the growth of the cooperative movement now? So when we look at the revival of the cooperative movement, in recent times, there has been a Multi-State Cooperative Societies Act of 2022. To get the earlier act in line with the features of the 97th Constitutional Amendment Act, there is Article 19, Article 43B, and most importantly, and very recently, there has been a new Ministry of Cooperation. Now, this ministry has taken many important steps. तो अब हम ये Ministry of Cooperation के steps देखते हैं. What they have done. So we've read evolution of cooperatives in India, the success of the cooperative movement and their role, the challenges in formation of cooperatives, and the initiatives by the Ministry of Cooperation. Okay, initiatives क्या लिए हैं? सबसे पहले with regards to cooperative banks, it is about PSL targets, licensing fee being reduced, tax relief being given, capacity building and the establishment of cooperative universities, computerization of primary agricultural credit societies, and new multi-state cooperatives. This is important. These three cooperatives have been made. This is from this year's economic survey. They are National Cooperative Exports Limited, Bharatiya Beej Sahakari Samiti Limited, and National Cooperative Organics Limited. What are they going to do? Exports, it's clear. Then seeds, beej means seeds in Hindi, I think this is also clear. And certified and authentic organic products, I think this is also clear. Now when you are writing about seeds, you have to mention this particular organization in institutional measures and way forward, right? तो ऐसे हम information link करेंगे from one place to the other, right? When we are writing about agricultural exports, we have to mention National Cooperative Export Limited. अभी हम पढ़ेंगे agricultural exports, so you will understand. Now, what are the various success stories in the cooperative sectors? Various examples are given here. After Amul की तो case study detail में नीचे explained है. There is the Bihar State Milk Cooperative Federation, Karnataka Milk Federation, Indian Farmers Fertilizer Cooperative Society, which is IFCO, that made nano urea liquid in India. So यहाँ पर काफी examples हैं. This one is pretty interesting. Saundarya Safai Mandali. It is actually a cooperative venture of rag pickers in Gujarat, and they are also profitable. So one of these examples you should write. And certain case study, this case study of Operation Flood has been given in detail as to how they managed, and they started in Khera district, and then how there was then spread of Operation Flood, what the World Bank has said about it, etc. Right? Now, in the cooperative movement, and when we're reading about the cooperative movement, we had to read about the general data of the cooperative movement, how it has evolved, what are the challenges it faces, the types of cooperatives, and what are the successes it has had. Now, one thing which is very likely to be asked at some point or the other is primary agricultural credit societies. Right? Break मत बोलो यार, देखो प्लीज ये नहीं हो पाएगा आज, ठीक है? पॉज कर देना वीडियो, आंसर राइटिंग में ले लिया करो ब्रेक, अगर ब्रेक चाहिए तो, ठीक है? तो we'll talk about primary agricultural credit societies. Now, this is also something you already know something about. You know, I'm sure you have read about primary agriculture credit societies at some place. तो अब क्या करते हैं? I'll first tell you what is the cooperative credit structure in India. Okay. So अगर हम cooperative credit societies देखें, तो एक तरफ तो है urban cooperative bank, ये तो अलग चल रहे हैं, and this we read about in economy. I'm sure आपने prelims के लिए पढ़ा होगा. Then there is rural credit. अगर रूरल क्रेडिट को देखा जाए, हम ऑलरेडी पढ़ चुके हैं कि क्रेडिट कैन बी शॉर्ट टर्म, क्रेडिट कैन बी लॉन्ग टर्म. अगर शॉर्ट टर्म क्रेडिट होगा तो इट कैन बी फ्रॉम स्टेट कोऑपरेटिव बैंक, डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोऑपरेटिव बैंक एंड प्राइमरी एग्रीकल्चरल क्रेडिट सोसाइटी. एंड द फंड्स विल फ्लो लाइक दिस. अल्टीमेटली द लोन यू आर गोइंग टू गेट इज फ्रॉम दिस. ठीक है? इफ यू रीड अबाउट लॉन्ग टर्म क्रेडिट, देर आर state cooperative agricultural development banks, okay, and primary cooperative agricultural development banks. हम ऑलरेडी पढ़ चुके हैं द डिफरेंस बिटवीन शॉर्ट टर्म एंड लॉन्ग टर्म क्रेडिट. तो ये जो प्राइमरी एग्रीकल्चर क्रेडिट सोसाइटीज हैं, व्हाट आर दीज? प्राइमरी एग्रीकल्चरल क्रेडिट सोसाइटीज आर एक्चुअली cooperatives. These are cooperatives meant for giving short-term loans, short-term farm loans. They accept deposits from their members. They also get money from NABARD. ये आपने पढ़ा होगा प्रीलिम्स के लिए, that refinancing नाबार्ड करता है ऑफ पीएससीएस. ओके, दिस मच आई एम अज्यूमिंग यू हैव रेड. अब 2-3 चीजें आप मुझे बता दो. फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन, दिस विल जस्ट टेस्ट योर प्रीलिम्स नॉलेज. आर दे रेगुलेटेड बाय द आरबीआई? यस और नो? Good. They are not regulated by the RBI. They are outside the RBI purview. Okay. अब अगर हमें PSES पढ़ना है तो PSES में I'll tell you what are the things we have to read. For PSES, we have to read firstly what are the advantages or roles that PSES plays, challenges that it faces, and some initiatives that have been recently taken. अब देखो, if you look at it from the governmental point of view, the government says that at every gram level, so gram panchayat, at every gram panchayat level, there has to be one primary agricultural credit society. इससे क्या होगा? One, the cooperative movement will become stronger. Farm loans will be easily available, right? And once farm loans are easily available, and it is also happening through the community, जो प्रॉब्लम है ऑफ फॉर्मल क्रेडिट जो हम पढ़ चुके हैं, वो प्रॉब्लम यहाँ पे पीएससीएस से सॉल्व हो रही है. सो द आइडिया ऑफ कोअर्सिव एक्शन, नोशन ऑफ एनपीएस, वो यहाँ नहीं होगा, बिकॉज दे आर गोइंग टू बी पीपल फ्रॉम दैट कम्युनिटी देमसेल्व्स दैट आर गोइंग टू बी मैनेजिंग दिस पीएससीएस. ओके, नाउ once they are made, then they will be linked to district level, then at the state level. So a chain of cooperatives will be formed and credit dispersal will become easy, right? अब यहां पर प्रॉब्लम्स क्या हैं, राइट? रोल तो क्लियर है इनका. व्हाट आर द चैलेंजेस that primary agricultural credit societies face in India? You have 1 minute to think about this and tell me. और मुझे ये भी जरूर बताना कि आपने सोचा कैसे. विवेक गर्ग सबसे पहले कमेंट करने में विवेक इज आगे. विवेक, सोचने का तरीका बताओ. सोचने का अभी सिखाया आपको, अभी, लाइक अबाउट 20 मिनट्स बैक आई हैव टॉट यू द सेम थिंग कि सोचना कैसे है. अरे सोचने का तरीका क्या है? व्हेन यू गेट अ क्वेश्चन, जब हमने कोऑपरेटिव्स के चैलेंजेस देखे थे, व्हाट वर द 3 हेडिंग्स? कुछ प्रॉब्लम होगी इनकी फॉर्मेशन में, कुछ प्रॉब्लम होगी इनकी ऑपरेशंस में, कुछ प्रॉब्लम होगी इनके रेगुलेशन में. नाउ यू कैन थिंक अबाउट वॉट एवर पॉइंट्स यू वॉन्ट. ओके, अब प्रॉब्लम नहीं है पॉइंट सोचने में, अब तो आ ही जाएंगे दिमाग में. बट सोचना वैसे ही है. जब ऐसे किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन या इस टाइप की किसी बॉडी के चैलेंजेस पूछे जाएं, थिंक इन दैट मैनर. ठीक है, जब हम फॉर्मेशंस की बात करेंगे, जब वो फॉर्मेशन की बात हो रही है, फर्स्टली वेयर आर दे गेटिंग फॉर्म्ड? आर दे प्रेजेंट इन ऑल स्टेट्स ऑफ द कंट्री? नो. तो रीजनल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन नहीं है. देन द पीपल हु आर फॉर्मिंग देम, are they the right human resource for professional management? do they have efficient human resource? Then information, do they have the requisite technology that is needed? And lastly, is there enough awareness about cooperatives in India कि actually वो बने PSES? Then when they are operating or when they are functioning, their credit share, we have read this, that credit share is declining. हम याद है हमने क्रेडिट में वो ग्राफ देखा था that commercial banks का क्रेडिट ज्यादा है, cooperative banks का क्रेडिट डिक्लाइन कर रहा है. That is why we took the inference that loans are now going to large farmers. Then where are they getting the money from? They are going to get refinanced. आपको नाबार्ड के बारे में पता है, but if they are dependent on refinance, they have resource dependence. And lastly, in terms of regulations, their auditing, their governance, there are issues with regards to this. Okay. अब ये issues हैं of credit societies in India. अब हम देखते हैं कि गवर्नमेंट ने क्या क्या स्टेप्स लिए हैं टू सॉल्व दिस प्रॉब्लम. सबसे पहले द गवर्नमेंट हैज हैड अ स्कीम which says that in every gram panchayat where there are no cooperatives or PSES have not been formed, we will form PSES. About 2 lakh PSES are promoted to be formed, right? Now this solves the problem of distribution, that it will be done everywhere. Okay. Then they say that we will do computerization of PSES. So if computerization happens, they will solve the problem of this technology lag. Then they have said that we will come up with model bylaws. PSES, as you might know, are regulated by the state. So model bylaws are made that how laws should be there in a particular PSES. We have made a model act. This model act solves the problem of human resource management. It solves the operational problem as well. Okay. Then the most interesting step they have, and okay, we'll come to that. They have said that the dependency problem is there. So through the National Knowledge Network, we will link all of these PSES to NABARD. So this problem of resource dependency and every time waiting for NABARD to give them finances gets solved. Then the most interesting measure, and this is detailed a lot in this year's economic survey, is they have said that awareness is a major problem. And people are, I mean, this movement has a lot of potential, but people are not utilizing the effective, they're not effectively utilizing the huge potential of this movement. So they have said that for now, for PSES, we are going to do various things. Okay, we are going to expand their scope. So the PSES are also going to make grain storage programs so that they can help in the storage of agricultural produce. They are also going to help in the formation of infrastructure at the ground level for agriculture. They are going to function as common service centers. Common service centers are places where you go and you get your Aadhaar card checked. Right? Let's say आपको आधार कार्ड में कुछ चेंज कराना है, आपको परिवार पहचान पत्र बनवाना है, you can go to common service center where all the services of the government are available, especially all the e-services of the government are available. Then they say that LPG and petrol distribution. If let's say a new petrol pump has to be opened in the village, the Agricultural Credit Society will be given the first preference. The PSES will become the Jan Aushadhi Kendra. The PSES will become the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samruddhi Kendra also. We have read this when we were reading about fertilizers. The PACS will become the Pani Samiti also. Pani Samiti is similar to what? Water user associations that we've already read about. And the PACS will also focus on drone enterprises. Why? Because people are directly involved. When people are directly involved here, they are directly coming together to make this, right? And then you give them all of these features, awareness will increase, and people directly get involved in governance. So all of these things are mentioned that are proposed. Some of them have been done, some of them will be done very soon for PSCS to expand their scope. Okay. So they have been given additional responsibilities. So this will ensure that PSCS are now functioning at a much greater level and the challenges that they have are solved and people get more involved in governance. Okay. So now if I come back to show you your notes, this is the idea of PSCS, what has happened. Then this is the basics that we read for prelims, the challenges that they face, the initiatives that have recently been taken, things like grain storage, computerization, expanded scope of work, functional responsibilities, etc., and the way forward for them. Okay. Now, अच्छा एक बात आप मुझे बताना, do tell me this one thing, that when you are reading these notes, let's say I'll go to some other, let's say I'm going to this, let's say I have to read the notes of cooperatives. I hope you know how I have envisioned that you will read them. ठीक है, मैं आपको बता देता हूँ कि मैंने कैसे सोचा है. अगर आपने क्लास देखी है, I have envisioned that you will read these notes within 30 minutes of watching this class and you will read them like this. चलो डेटा तो आपको पढ़ना है, बट जैसे evolution of corporatization है, you will read about early proposals and resistance, then you will read development and planning, second 5-year plan, Nagpur resolution, third 5-year plan. Only the things that are written in bold. For example, if you are reading challenges, you will read bogus cooperatives. अब ये आपको याद होना चाहिए. State sponsored, this you will remember. You don't have to read it. This is only for reference if you don't remember what is written here. अगर आपको bogus cooperatives देख के land reform याद नहीं आ रहा क्लास देखने के बाद, only then you read this. Otherwise, reading this would be sufficient. Right? So you read, okay, failures in productivity and scale. अब ये पढ़ के आपको चाइना का एग्जांपल याद आ जाना चाहिए कि वहां पर also this did not work. ब्यूरोक्रेटिक ओवररीच पढ़ के आपको कोल्यूजन याद आ जाना चाहिए. Right? I hope this thing is clear to all of you. Now we are going to now read, we've read about cooperatives, we've read about PSCS in detail. Now we are going to read about supply chain management in the agriculture sector. देखो, हमने देखा कि प्रोडक्शन हो रही है, प्रोडक्शन में हमने इनपुट्स पढ़ लिया, हमने कोऑपरेटिव्स के बारे में पढ़ लिया. अब ये प्रोडक्शन कहां जाएगी? We have taken the inputs. Where is this production going to go? There is going to be a supply chain here. जो इस पूरी चीज को मैनेज करेगी. You can possibly go to food processing industries. You can possibly go to the APMC. And you can possibly go to exports. So all of these headings, supply chain management, food processing industry, APMC and export, we are going to read in detail. Okay. Now, I will just take a small break, 2 minutes only, and then we will read. We can also do APMC first. APMC मजा बहुत आएगा करने में. So we can do either. But we have to do all of these topics. Obviously, not all of them will be done today. Whatever is left today, I'll record and upload by tomorrow. Again, if you are giving meals this year, you should skip these breaks. Farm bills I don't think are relevant now, but when we read about APMCs, we will understand why we have to read why the farm bills were there. So the logic of the farm bills we will understand from there. Yes, Surya, 100% will be done by 30th August. Keywords are specific for a particular topic, right? So when you write a question on cooperatives now, write Sahakar se Samriddhi. Yeah, देखो, agriculture is hard to remember. There is no doubt about that. But I hope, like, I am trying to make it as logical as I can for you. मतलब मैं आपको अगर honestly बताऊं, तो अगर आप economic survey पढ़ोगे, तो वहां पर ये solutions लिखे हैं और ये problems लिखी हैं. ना उनको ऐसे अरेंज किया गया है और ना उनको ऐसे लिंक किया गया है, right? This linking and arranging I am doing only so that you can remember better. प्रगति अभी तो नहीं, मे बी लेटर. अभी तो आई डोंट थिंक आई बी एबल टू. सूरज, जस्ट फॉलो दिस. तो फैक्ट्स आपको सारे नहीं याद करने. यू डोंट हैव टू रिमेंबर ऑल द फैक्ट्स. यू हैव टू ओनली रिमेंबर what maybe 2 or 3 facts that you can write in the exam. Anyway, चलिए, let's go forward. We can do APMC first also. अगर थोड़ा बोरिंग लग रहा है एग्रीकल्चर, तो APMC कर लेते हैं पहले. देखो, लेट्स रीड अबाउट APMCs. ठीक है, एग्रीकल्चरल प्रोड्यूस मार्केटिंग कमिटी. ठीक है, अब लेट अस अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट वी हैड अंडरस्टूड अर्लियर. हम जॉइंटनेस ऑफ फार्मर्स पढ़ रहे थे, वहीं से देखते हैं. A single farmer does not have bargaining power. He does not have jointness. He is operating in a buyer's market. ये बातें तो हमें पता है. और क्या क्या प्रॉब्लम्स हैं व्हेन अ फार्मर वांट्स टू मार्केट हिज प्रोड्यूस. एक मेजर प्रॉब्लम ये है, विच इज प्राइस डिस्कवरी. व्हाट डज प्राइस डिस्कवरी मीन? Price discovery means that 1 kg of tomato is going to cost what? Abhi, this is not written on the tomato. It is not a manufactured product. It is a grown product. So price discovery can only happen, and in the world, everything's price is discovered on the basis of supply and demand. But this price discovery has to happen in one place. And since there are so many farmers, बहुत सारे farmers हैं, and the produce is huge, production काफी ज्यादा है, so we need a place where price discovery happens. अगर ये सारे individually जाके they go to the, let's say, a big wholesaler, and he says that I will buy tomatoes only at rupees 10 per ton, and if you don't want to sell to me, don't sell. These wholesalers can actually make a cartel and say that, okay, if you don't want to sell to me, you don't sell, but we will only buy at rupees 10 per ton. Right now, this is very low price, but the problem here is it is a buyer's market. The farmer cannot wait because the product is perishable. Here there is no incentive. Here there is no incentive or no reason for the wholesaler to buy quickly. They can wait as much as they want, right? Farmer also has to be quick in selling their produce. Why? Because they have to invest whatever little surplus they get in the next cropping season. तो ऐसे अगर हम फार्मर्स को कहेंगे कि यू सेल ओपनली वेरेवर यू वांट, it might become a problem, right? So it was thought that because there is also surplus production, it was thought that because of all these reasons, we need to regulate this problem and create something called an agriculture produce marketing committee. Now, what is APMC going to do? The APMC is going to solve all of these problems, and it is a marketing committee. So it is not the market. ये बात हमें इंपॉर्टेंट देखनी है. It is not the market, it is the marketing committee. Marketing committee है मतलब farmers are going to sell here and this is going to sell further. So the APMC will then sell further. Further to whom? Further to maybe wholesalers, to retailers, to various other places. Okay. Now, APMC को प्रोड्यूस अपने पास नहीं रखना है, they have to sell it further. अब actual process क्या है? आप, let's say you are a farmer, you work on your field, you cut your harvest, you get your harvest, you get your actual crop, you take it to the APMC. In the APMC first, your quality will get determined. So let's say this is a farmer, and they take their produce to the APMC. In the APMC first, there is a person called Artiya. I don't know how it's spelled in English. Artiya is basically a person who is an agent at the APMC who is going to determine your quality of the produce, and then there is going to be an open auction. Open auction of your produce, and there are going to be various traders here. They can bid for this produce. So what is happening here? Price discovery is happening. That what is the actual price? So this is 100 kg of wheat. He says I will pay 10,000. He says I'll pay 4,000. He says I'll pay 14,000. So this open auction starts happening here. Okay. If you are not satisfied with this open auction, let's say the price that you are getting is nearly rupees 1,000 for 1 ton of wheat, and you are not satisfied with this, you say that on here there is the Food Corporation of India sitting, where you can sell your produce at the minimum support price. So the minimum support price जो MSP है, it is meant to be a floor कि इसके नीचे तो नहीं बिकेगा, right? So if let's say MSP for wheat is 2100 rupees per ton, the farmer can easily say, I don't want to go to this open auction, I will go to the FCI and sell to the FCI. Otherwise, you have to give me a higher price than this. So the MSP establishes a particular floor of 2100 rupees per ton, and this then happens. After this open auction, the price discovery will happen. Let's say the price is discovered to be 2200 rupees per ton. Then it will be sold to this person or this trader. Then this trader, using the facilities of that the APMC is going to provide, APMC is going to provide transport facility, logistics facility, storage facility. Using these facilities, he is now going to give to the wholesaler, then it's going to go to the retailer. This was the idea. Okay, this was the idea that a floor price will be determined, price discovery will happen. Now, originally when APMCs came in India, it was the Lilith-Gao Commission. आपने शायद सुना इसके बारे में. This is not important, it's historical. Some new things were also introduced here, like standard weights. Up to obviously this is not a problem, but standard weights like things like 1 kilo ka measurement. Earlier, measurement was not done in these SI units. Standard weights are introduced. Then it is said that how is APMC going to develop these facilities? So at this selling, whatever happens in this selling, the APMC is going to charge something called a small market fee. So इस ऑक्शन में जो सेल होती है, to provide these facilities, and to provide this facility of auction, Mandi is going to charge a market fees, and this market fees is going to be used in the development of these particular facilities. The traders who are going to come here are going to be licensed. Okay, and ultimately it is an agricultural produce marketing committee. So this committee has some members. And who are the members? The farmers themselves, some traders are members, and some government officials are members. And how do you decide the membership? There are going to be democratic elections. And then they say that in every state in India, the realities are different. So APMCs are going to be regulated by the states. So this is the idea. Again, I'll just talk about this once. I am a farmer, I want to take my produce, I take it to the APMC. The Artiya comes, he sees the quality, and he says that, okay, now amongst all the traders who are willing to come to this mandi, we are going to have an open auction. So that we can have an open auction, these traders are going to bid in front of you, and whatever price is the highest, you sell your produce to that person. If that price is lower than a particular floor, let's say lower than 2100 rupees per ton for wheat, you have the option of going to the Food Corporation of India and selling your produce for minimum support price. So MSP establishes a floor. Above that, there is open auction. Now, what does the trader do? After the trader takes this particular amount, let's say 1 ton of wheat, using the facilities of the APMC of storage, transports, and logistics, he then has to give further to maybe the wholesaler, maybe to food processor, maybe to exporter. Then, how does the APMC develop these facilities? It charges a particular market fees. It is a marketing committee. It is not a market. It is a marketing committee. So these committee members are who? They are going to be some farmers, some traders, and some government officials, representations from all stakeholders, so that this process is fair. How will these members be decided? Through democratic elections. And every particular state has their own reality. So the law for APMC in a particular state is going to be made by that state. Clear? ये process समझ आ गया आपको? This is what an APMC is. अरे विश्वजीत, challenges पे तो आएंगे अभी. There are at least 50 challenges in this process. But this is the idea. Is this idea clear? Who will pay market fees, traders or farmers? Both. From farmers it will be charged at this auction site. From traders it will be charged later. Farmers are paying for this facility, traders are paying for this facility. This is the ideal scenario. हर बार MSP होता है या नहीं, वो challenges हम अभी देखेंगे. ठीक है? तो हमने अभी क्या देखा? What have we seen? That there is an agricultural produce marketing committee. What all is the APMC doing for the farmer? Firstly, it has to develop facilities of storage, transport, logistics. For these facilities, it is going to have a market fees. Up. One thing more that I'd like to tell you, yahan par to protect the farmer, it is said that whatever sale you are to do, the first sale of agricultural produce is going to happen here only. It is going to be a physical mandi, मतलब एक actual जगह है डेजिग्नेटेड एज मंडी, और वहीं पर ही फर्स्ट सेल होगी, ताकि ये बिग होलसेलर्स जाके फार्मर को मैनिपुलेट करके एट द फार्म उनसे कम प्राइसेस में ना खरीदें. Farmer should be aware of his right, and farmer should see an open auction happening. Only then it is a fair process. So the first sale will happen here, and it will be a physical space. So the APMC is going to do storage, transport and logistics. It is going to charge a market fees. It is going to be the place of first sale. सबसे पहले सेलिंग होने वाली है APMC में, as it is the place of first sale. Okay, it is going to be the place where price discovery happens. Price discovery is supposed to happen through open auctions. If you are not satisfied with open auctions, here only you have the process or the option of going for minimum support price. Then after all of this has happened, this is a committee which is supposed to be democratically elected, and it is supposed to have members from farmers, from traders and from government officials. Okay, now ये यहां तक क्लियर है ना? हमें यहां तक क्लियर है. अब अगर आपको इस कोर्स में सोचना थोड़ा सा भी आया है, तो यू शुड बी नाउ एबल टू टेल मी ऑल द चैलेंजेस ऑफ एपीएमसी. तो आपके पास अब 2 मिनट है और मुझे चैलेंजेस ऑफ एपीएमसी बता दो. दिस इज इन द बोर्ड इन फ्रंट ऑफ यू. लॉजिकली याद करेंगे. चैलेंजेस ऑफ एपीएमसी यहां से बता दो. MSP not being provided for all crops is not a challenge of APMC. That is a policy issue. APMC MSP decide नहीं करती. MSP कौन decide करता है? CACP, then approved by CCEA. So that is a policy issue. Otherwise ठीक है. यार कीर्ति, अगर इतना पढ़ने के बाद भी आप एक्सप्लॉयटेशन ऑफ फार्मर्स जैसे पॉइंट लिखोगे तो कैसे बात बनेगी यार? गुड ईशानी, मंडी दूर है फार्म से. इलेक्शंस में ट्रांसपेरेंसी नहीं है. आप इसी ऑर्डर में सोचो ना. It is written in front of you. Challenges are right here. चलो मैं आपको चैलेंजेस सोचने का एक और तरीका बताता हूं. मान लो आपको मैं ये टास्क दूं कि एपीएमसी को खराब करना है. यू हैव टू डिस्ट्रॉय एन एपीएमसी फ्रॉम विद इन. ठीक है, तो आप कैसे करोगे? आप कहोगे दैट ओके, आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू मेक एनी infrastructural facilities. So infrastructure is going to be inadequate. You will charge very high market fees. Point of first sale तो ठीक है, has to be the APMC. सबसे पहले सेल APMC में होनी है, correct? But APMC दूर है. If the farmer is here and APMC is let's say 200 kilometers away, and this is a small farmer, how is he supposed to take his crop to the APMC? So the problem is of last mile connectivity. जो आइडियल लॉ है इंडिया में मतलब जो recommendation है, rather law तो नहीं बोलना चाहिए, जो recommendation है, recommendation ये है that APMCs are going to be, every APMC must cover an area of 80 square kilometers. So 80 किलोमीटर के रेडियस, 80 किलोमीटर के एरिया में, 80 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर्स के एरिया में देयर मस्ट बी वन एपीएमसी. इस हिसाब से इंडिया को चाहिए 30,000 एपीएमसीज. Actually, how many APMCs are there in India? Only 6,000. So they are covering an area of 470 kilometers. So in every 470 kilometer, there is one APMC. So you might have to travel 400 kilometers to take your product there. The travel cost alone is more than the profit you make. So you will not do your first sale here. You will sell to the big farmer only. Okay. Then price discovery had to happen through open auctions. You don't conduct open auctions. आप बोलो मैं नहीं करता open auction conduct. Right? MSP is updated every year by the government. You don't update the MSP prices. Right? You do not conduct a democratic election of this committee. And even when you conduct a democratic election, it is always the big farmers and the big traders who win. When the big farmers and big traders win, they form a cartel. So they do not let new farmers enter, they do not let new traders enter. And the government officials come in collusion of this cartel. Okay. When new traders cannot enter, new farmers cannot enter, क्या होगा? The price will be decided here. MSP आप update नहीं कर रहे, तो अब a small farmer has no option but to sell to a big farmer, and big farmer and trader will negotiate the price. So the Shanta Kumar Committee on Public Distribution System in India said that 90% of produce in Punjab and Haryana is being sold at MSP price, but only 6% farmers are getting the advantages. How is this possible? That the small farmer is still selling to the big farmer. The big farmer is taking to the mandi and selling at MSP. The government official is in collusion. Democratic election is not happening. Market fees are way too high for a new entrant to come. First sale is not happening here. Storage, transport, logistics is not developed. Even then, if somehow a new farmer goes, there are delayed payments. What was the problem of delayed payments? The new farmer, the small farmer cannot wait. उसे पता है कि if I sell at the APMC, it's going to take 2 months for my payment to come. But if I give to the big farmer, it is going to come instantly. So there are problems of delayed payments. Then what is the other problem here? That APMC was supposed to do waste management. APMC was supposed to do infrastructure development. करा ही नहीं. जब आप infrastructure development नहीं करोगे, further value chain in agriculture is not going to be added. So we are going to be stuck at the low end of the value chain. This is the APMC problem in India as it stands today. Okay. Now why? Another problem we have is they have an artificial monopoly. You have said that sale is going to happen here only, nowhere else. So there is an artificial monopoly. They don't have any competition, so they don't have to improve. And since every state is making their own law, there is lack of interstate connectivity. And even within the state, there is lack of intrastate connectivity. %90 product sold at MSP, 6% benefiting means 10 लोगों ने प्रोड्यूस किया, लेट्स से 100 लोगों ने प्रोड्यूस किया, उसमें से 6 थे बिग फार्मर. सब बिग फार्मर्स ने सारा प्रोड्यूस खरीद लिया. देन बिग फार्मर्स ने स्मॉल फार्मर्स से खरीदा एमएसपी से बहुत कम पे, by bullying them or by them not having the ability to go to the mandi. Then big farmers now own 90% of the produce. Then they go to the mandi and sell it MSP. ठीक है, अब ये challenges समझ आए? Are you able to understand? Like, I hope it's, you know, it's something that is easy to remember. I mean, I cannot make it more simple than this. So that it's easy to remember, it's logical for you to understand why APMC came, what was the original idea, what were the challenges. समझ आ गया? लिख लोगे? फार्मर्स प्रोटेस्ट पे नहीं जाएंगे हम, प्लीज डोंट मेक दिस पॉलिटिकल. Won't role of RTS decline in AP? Why? They are the ones who are responsible for quality assessment. How is their role going to decline? They are in collusion. ठीक है, मोस्ट लोग, मैं आपको वैसे बता रहा हूं, मोस्ट लोग जो इस एग्जाम की तैयारी कर रहे हैं उनको ये बेसिक चीजें ही नहीं पता. एंड मैं क्यों बोल पा रहा हूं इतने कॉन्फिडेंस से? क्योंकि मुझे भी नहीं पता था कि एपीएमसी का मतलब क्या होता है. आई हैड रेड द फार्म लॉज, आई वाज प्रिपेयरिंग एट दैट टाइम. I did not know how the APMC works. I did not know why it existed. That is why it's the endeavor to make these things clear to you, ताकि एटलीस्ट आपको पता तो हो कि चल क्या रहा है. Now you are able to write a question on APMC. It's not going to be a problem, है ना? Anyway, so we are going to stop here today. I was supposed to record one lecture for you anyway, but I will record that today, right? So आज I will record that and maybe I will upload by tomorrow or day after. Next class में आने से पहले वो recorded lecture देख के आना. Next class में we'll finish agriculture. I know Dipender live is more interesting, but we also have a timeline to stick to. We'll just वो lecture देख के आना. Next class is going to be extremely interesting क्योंकि उसमें सारे points आपने बताने हैं. Every single point you have to tell because it is going to be agricultural policy. So everything, क्या करें डबलिंग फार्मर्स इनकम के लिए, अग्रेरियन डिस्ट्रेस क्यों है, सब आप बताओगे. कल शाम तक कर दूंगा यार अपलोड, डोंट वरी, कल शाम तक 100%. ठीक है, चलो, all the best. Hope you had a good time. I had fun teaching this class and I will now see you on Saturday with the last class of agriculture. Okay, bye bye, have a good evening.